A single headlamp beam knifes through the blizzard, and for one breathless moment you see nothing but spiraling white. Then a shape materializes, an old timber house crouched on the edge of a frozen lake, shingles rattling like bones in the wind. You are Lucas Hale, wildlife photographer turned reluctant hermit, rolling up the last mile of logging road before the storm seals everything shut. And you have no idea that tonight the wilderness is about to beg you for sanctuary. The truck fishtails as you brake, tires skidding over packed ice. Snow gusts across the windshield, erasing any trace of the rutted track you just followed. Alaska's winter can snuff out roads and people with equal ease, but you tell yourself you're used to it. Weeks alone in the field taught you that comfort is optional and survival is a conversation. Yet even practiced hands tremble as you kill the engine and listen to the wind tearing at metal like it wants inside. You shoulder your gear, step into knee-deep drifts, and wade to the porch. The cabin's windows are dark, shutters half torn. A realtor's rust-flecked sign still hangs from a nail. Foreclosed, for sale by owner. It's yours now, the cheap inheritance left after your father's sudden death. One more loose end in a life already frayed. The key grinds in the lock, frozen tumblers groaning, and the door opens on a cavern of stale cold. Your boots echo on warped floorboards. The interior smells of cedar, mice, and something sweeter like dried lilac, a fragment of whoever lived here last. You flip the breaker, yellow bulbs jitter awake, chasing shadows into corners stacked with dusty crates and a moth-eaten couch. Not exactly homey, but out here, 4 walls and a roof are a kingdom. The storm slams the door as if to say, you stay or you die. You drop your pack and check the propane heater your father installed long ago. Pilot light still works. Flame coughs to life, spilling warm orange across frost-pebbled glass. You unlatch a side window, intending to shake out a blanket of snow on the sill, when a low, guttural cry rises from the darkness beyond, half growl, half plea, carrying a note of exhaustion that cuts through the howl of wind. Instinct coils in your gut. Out here, wolves rarely approach humans unless cornered or dying, yet these animals are making for your porch with deliberate, almost pleading steps. Your camera reflex kicks in. You raise the lens, snapping frames through the window, but the shutter feels obscene. Documentary theft from lives on the edge. The smallest wolf collapses onto the snowbank, barely breathing, steam curling from its mouth in thin, failing ribbons.
You throw the bolt, step onto the porch, and the storm roars around you like approval or warning, you can't tell which. "Easy," you murmur, voice nearly ripped away by wind. In reply, the lead wolf, larger than the rest, fur peppered silver, bows its head. It does not bare its teeth. It does not retreat. Instead, it plants itself on the threshold, gaze fixed on the door behind you, as though asking permission to cross a sacred line. This is madness, you think, but madness and mercy are twins in weather like this. You back toward the entrance, hold it open, and the pack shuffles inside as if obeying an unspoken etiquette. Claws click on planks. Breath steams into the air, fogging your lenses. The door slams shut behind the last tale, sealing 5 souls from the wrath beyond. Inside, the wolves huddle near the heater, wary but spent. You keep a careful distance, setting down a basin of water that steams as ice melts from shaggy coats. They lap gratefully, tongues rasping metal. The room fills with scents of wet fur and forest, living tapestry over the stale cabin musk. You realize your heart is pounding harder than after any mountain ascent. Adrenaline has rewritten your pulse. A memory surfaces, your father's voice reciting an old Inuit proverb he loved. When the wolf knocks, he comes as teacher, not thief. You never understood why a man who feared the wild clung to that line. Now, with 4 predators resting by your feet, the riddle feels closer to flesh. Your watch reads 10:17 p.m. The storm's eye will not pass until morning, maybe longer if the radar was right. You inventory supplies, a few cans of beans, field rations, dried salmon strips, enough for 1 man, not a pack of carnivores. Yet the wolves do not sniff for food. They lie curled around the sickly pup who collapsed first, forming a circle of protection. Its breathing is ragged, sides fluttering like torn sails. You crouch, camera forgotten, medical instincts born of countless backcountry mishaps taking over. In the first aid kit, you find a syringe of broad-spectrum antibiotic meant for human infection. Wolves share much of our biology. Perhaps the drug will buy time. You draw a small dose, whispering apologies, and inject the pup's haunch. The animal whimpers but does not bite. The alpha watches, ears twitching. In its eyes, you glimpse something almost human, calculating trust, conditional yet profound. You back away, raise your palms, and it relaxes, settling its head on crossed paws. The heater ticks, snow piles against windows, and outside the world is nothing but white noise. You move through the cabin, uncovering relics of your father's tenure, maps annotated with pencil. You turn another page, a sketch of the very cabin, surrounded by concentric circles, like ripples from a stone drop. At the center, a crude symbol, an eye, inside a triangle. Claws, radiating outward. You've seen this glyph before, carved in driftwood totems along coastal villages. Locals call it Uiva, the sentinel between worlds. The wolves stir, ears swiveling toward the floorboards, as if they hear something you don't. A low hum rises through the house, subtly vibrating your boot soles. Maybe wind under the crawl space, maybe the frozen lake shifting. But the alpha lifts its snout and releases a soft, mournful howl that trembles the lampshades. Another memory. 2 winters ago, you camped near Denali and recorded a chorus of wolf song echoing across valleys. It was wild, joyous, territorial. This sound is different. Lament, warning, perhaps invitation. It reverberates through your ribcage in a language older than words. You set down the journal and kneel beside the pup. Its pulse is faint but steadier now. You brush ice crystals from its ear and notice a burn mark, a perfect circle branded into the skin behind the jaw. The edges are too clean for frostbite, too deliberate for accident. You check the others. Each bears the same seared ring. A chill creeps up your spine that has nothing to do with cold. Who marked them, and why did they flee to a human house? An irony as sharp as the wind. The questions flicker like faulty bulbs, but before answers form, a dull thud shakes the back wall. Books topple from a shelf. Wolves spring to their paws, hackles up, a synchronized lift of heads toward the rear door leading to the frozen lake. You grab a flashlight and edge forward, wolves flanking you with silent footfalls. The rear door is warped shut, frame swollen by moisture. You shoulder it open, a blast of sleet knifes through and extinguishes your breath. The beam cuts across a snow-capped deck, then down to the lake's surface, cracked, heaving with slow tectonic groans. Something massive shifts beneath the ice, black silhouette gliding under a glass coffin. Your lungs forget to draw air. The shape is too large for any fish, and its movement is purposeful, almost patrolling. It pauses directly below the deck, and a soft blue glow pulses upward, illuminating your boots and the belly of the alpha beside you. The light paints the pack's branded circles, and for an instant the marks shine like coins underwater. The wolves back away, but you remain, transfixed. Beneath the ice, a single eye opens, luminous, elliptical, reptilian. It blinks once, then vanishes into the depths, leaving the blue glow to fade like dying embers. A crack spiderwebs across the lake, echoing like distant thunder. You slam the door, bar it with a chair, and stagger back into the living room. The wolves pace, whining, claws scraping wood in agitated patterns. You look at the heater. Outside, the storm's fury tapers, but an electricity lingers in the air, charged, anticipatory, as if the land itself is holding its breath. Midnight approaches. You find batteries, load the DSLR with video, and set it on a tripod facing the rear door. Evidence matters. Sanity often rides shotgun to proof. Meanwhile, the alpha approaches, and nudges a journal toward you with its snout. Startled, you pick it up. Different handwriting than your father's, cramped and angular. The first page reads, "If you're reading this, the wolves have chosen you. They are neither pets nor prey. They are keys." The next line trails off as though the writer was interrupted. You flip ahead, but pages have been torn out. Keys to what? You glance at the pup. Its eyelids flutter, feverish. If the wolves are keys, perhaps the branded circles are locks or targets. Either way, something beneath the lake wants them back, and you're now the unwilling custodian. Wind rattles the shutters once more, softer now, like fingertips rather than fists. You lean against the wall, exhaustion flushing through your limbs. The wolves settle too, circling 3 times before curling up beside your sleeping bag. The alpha stays a few feet away, watching you with an intensity that feels like sharing a secret. You close your eyes, but the image of that underwater eye burns behind your lids. You promise yourself you'll stay awake, stand guard, but the day's miles, the storm, the adrenaline, they pull you under. The last thing you register is the alpha's steady breathing, syncing with yours. 2 metronomes ticking toward dawn. In dreams, you walk a frozen plain under a violet sky. The wolves travel beside you, unshackled, pelts blazing white fire. Ahead, a house stands alone, your cabin, but its boards shimmer like glass, and inside glows the same blue light that lives beneath the ice. You approach, reach for the door, and from behind it, something whispers your name. You jolt awake to silence. The storm has died. Pale gray twilight leaks through frosted panes. The heater's pilot light flickers, half-starved. You rise slowly, joints aching, and realize the cabin feels emptier. The wolves are gone. You search every room, kitchen, storage loft, even under the porch, and find only paw prints melting back to water on the floorboards. The rear door, once barred, now hangs ajar. Outside, the lake lies calm, a mirror of muted cloud. In the center, 5 wolf shapes stand on the ice, facing you. Beside them is another figure, upright, impossibly tall, draped in frost. Your camera is still rolling. You try to speak, but the wind steals your words. The figure raises its other hand, palm open, and etched in the center is the same triangle eye symbol from your father's journal. Light flares, blue and blinding. Reflex forces you to raise a hand against it, but in that heartbeat, the wolves pivot as one, staring at the house behind you. When the light dims, the figure is gone. The wolves remain, tails low, eyes expectant. You realize they are waiting for what? You cannot say. An answer? A choice? You step forward, and the ice groans beneath their paws, but holds. Suddenly the pup barks, a sharp, crystalline sound that cracks the stillness. It pivots toward the tree line, and the pack follows, racing into the snow, disappearing among pines dusted gold by new daylight. You're left alone on the deck, heart racing against brittle silence. You glance down at your hand, where the blinding light struck. In the flesh of your palm, faint and smoldering, is the same circular brand the wolves carried. It pulses once, like a second heartbeat, then cools. Inside the cabin, the heater sputters out. The temperature drops fast. You retrieve the journals, shove them and extra batteries into your pack, and sling it over one shoulder. The branded hand throbs as though urging haste. Somewhere beyond the trees, a distant howl spirals upward. Question or command, you're not sure. You breathe in the crisp air, tasting iron and secrets, and step off the deck into untouched snow. Whatever waits out there, whatever hunts or teaches, You are now woven into its tapestry. The wolves have opened a door, and your first footfall beyond the cabin's boundary feels like crossing into a story far older than your own. And so, following paw prints that fade into dawn, you set off into the Alaskan wild, unaware that every step draws you closer to the creature beneath the ice, and to truths your father kept buried with the winter dead. Dawn breaks over the frozen Alaskan forest like a whisper, thin gold bleeding through frost-bitten pine. Lucas Hale stands on the deck of the inherited cabin, staring at the branded mark glowing faintly on his palm. The wolves are gone, the figure beneath the lake gone, but the silence they left behind hums with purpose. Snow crunches under his boots as he steps away from the cabin for the first time in daylight. Paw prints snake into the woods like breadcrumbs from a dream, shallow and fading fast. Something in him, something primal, tells him to follow, not out of curiosity but duty. As if the storm last night rewrote the rules of his world, and now he owes the wild an answer. He straps on his camera, slings his father's journal across his chest, and heads east, toward the forest's edge, where the trees grow denser, light dimming beneath the interlocking branches. The stillness is uncanny. No birdsong, no skittering of squirrels, only the soft groan of distant ice shifting under pressure. Then, ahead, Lucas sees it. A narrow trail of blood, frozen and black like spilled ink, threading between pines. It leads him to a clearing. At its center, a ring of stones encasing a half-buried totem. The same triangle eye symbol stares back at him, carved in blackened wood. Feathers hang from antler prongs, swaying, though there's no breeze. Beneath it, the remains of an animal, another wolf, maybe. Bones arranged in a spiral, ribs pointing inward. Lucas crouches, fingers hovering above the totem, when a low, unplaceable sound rises behind him, a slow creaking like branches under strain. He turns, camera at the ready, but nothing moves. Yet the air has changed. He can feel it, he's not alone. Then, from the shadows, a whisper. Not a word, not even a voice, just the suggestion of something being said inside his mind. Return it. He stumbles back, heart jackhammering, scanning every branch. But the clearing remains still. The branded hand burns again. Not just pain, direction. He closes his eyes, lifts it like a compass, and lets it guide him northeast, toward the foothills. Hours pass. The sun arcs behind thickening cloud. Lucas reaches a frozen river, its surface webbed with deep cracks, as though something massive had recently passed below. He follows its edge, slipping occasionally, until a structure comes into view. Collapsed timber walls swallowed by snow, half-rotted and splintered by time. It's not on any map, yet his father had sketched something like this once, an old trading post near the lake, long abandoned after the strange melt of '89. Lucas approaches, stepping through a crooked doorway into darkness thick with the scent of mildew and ash. Inside, he finds carvings on the inner walls. Dozens, hundreds, all the same eye triangle symbol, varying in size. Some fresh, some scorched, others dripping what looks like sap but smells like blood. Below one carving lies a bundle of hides and fur, and nestled inside, a necklace. A crude pendant, circle carved from bone, ringed in runes. It pulses with that same blue glow he saw beneath the ice. Lucas doesn't want to touch it, but his hand moves before he can stop it. The moment his fingers close around the bone pendant, a tremor shakes the floor. Splinters rain from the ceiling. A guttural growl rolls from beneath the earth, like something waking up far below. Suddenly, Lucas sees a flash. Not memory, but vision. Wolves, dozens, running across a blackened plain under aurora-lit skies. Something chases them. Not an animal, but a shadow. Tall, lean, faceless. A creature cloaked in frost, with the eyes of a glacier and arms that bend like smoke. The wolves scatter, but one is caught. The shadow presses the glowing pendant to its flesh, branding it. Then, everything vanishes. Lucas jerks awake on the floor of the trading post, sweat freezing on his brow. The pendant now hangs from his neck. The mark on his palm blazes in sync. He stumbles outside, gasping, and notices something else. The woods have changed. The trees now lean inward, trunks blackened as though scorched. And the snow? It's melting in slow, spiraling circles, like breath on glass. Lucas hears them before he sees them. Paws on ice, soft and sure. The wolves have returned. They stand in a semicircle, silent. The alpha moves forward, eyes locking with his. Lucas raises the pendant. It glows. Then the wolves turn, heading back toward the lake. And Lucas follows.
The lake's surface pulses with faint blue light. Cracks widen like veins, exposing soft, flickering glow below. Around the shore, more totems rise from the snow. Some intact, others snapped. It looks like a battlefield after the snow fell. Lucas sets up his tripod again, this time pointing toward the lake's center. The wolves circle the edge, but none step onto the ice. They watch as Lucas walks forward, the pendant swinging against his chest. The glow brightens. A deep hum vibrates through his chest cavity. Then crack. The ice splits beneath him. Lucas drops to one knee, camera clattering to the side. Blue light pours from the fracture, and rising through it, slowly, gracefully, a figure, same as before, cloaked in mist and frost. Not a creature of flesh, but something ancient, something that remembers. His face is unreadable, shrouded in shifting vapor, but its hand rises, revealing an empty brand. Waiting. Lucas understands. He removes the pendant and extends it. The moment the figure touches it, the air explodes in light, blinding, weightless, euphoric. Lucas feels the heat in his bones, like something sacred is being rewritten inside him. Then, silence. When the light fades, the figure is gone.
The pendant, gone.
And the ice? Healed. But in its center, a single object now sits atop the surface. A black box. Carved, sealed, humming. The wolves remain behind him, unmoving. Lucas walks toward it. He kneels, lifts the box. It's cold as death, heavier than it looks. He turns it over. On the bottom, burned into the wood, is the same mark that branded his hand. And below it, a phrase written in Old English. Do not bring this into fire. Lucas stares at the box, heart thudding. He doesn't know what's inside, but he knows the story isn't over. He looks back at the wolves. The alpha bows once, then turns, leading the others into the woods. And once again, Lucas is left alone, on the ice, holding something that may have just saved the world, or doomed it. The ice groans beneath Lucas Hale's knees as dawn's first rays catch the black box cradled in his arms. Every breath curls in silver plumes, but inside the box a colder current thrums. Steady, ancient, patient. He can't feel his fingertips, yet the branded ring on his palm pulses like a second heart, warning him that daylight is no refuge from what hunts in shadow. He rises slowly, camera forgotten on the snow, and turns toward the treeline. The wolves have vanished, leaving only soft paw shapes already filling with drift. Behind him, the lake lies perfectly still, as if sealing a secret beneath new glass. Lucas understands two facts with brutal clarity. He must not open the box, and he must discover why every warning etched into the land insists that fire is the ultimate danger. He retraces his steps to the cabin, the box tucked beneath his parka. Snow stings his cheeks, driven by a wind that whistles through spruce boughs like distant flute notes, mournful, urging him forward. Each crunch of ice underfoot echoes inside his head, a metronome to memories he never lived. Wolves running under auroras, icy eyes watching from below, and his father's journal pages inked with feverish caution. The cabin's silhouette rises through the haze, boards rattling like loose teeth. Lucas crosses the porch, nudges the door with his shoulder, and slips inside. The interior smells of extinguished propane and wet fur, ghosts of last night's strange refuge. He lays the box on the scarred coffee table and shivers as the brand on his hand brightens, tiny sparks of blue dancing beneath the skin. He fishes the journal from his pack and settles near the cold heater, flipping to the final intact pages. February 17th, 11 years prior. If the wolves choose you, the lake will test you. The box is not a prison but a promise. Fire breaks all packs. A margin note in darker ink adds, almost as an afterthought. Light the wrong flame and the eye awakens hungry. Lucas closes the book, heartbeat thundering. Outside, clouds thicken, muting the rising sun. He kneels beside the box, tracing the rune-ringed symbol on its lid, the same motif scorched into the wolf's fur and, now, his flesh. He hears his father's voice as clearly as if the man stood beside him. Some doors open when you knock. Others open because you're running out of time. He lights a single lantern, far from the box, careful to shield the flame. Its glow casts long shadows, and in that flicker Lucas sees movement at the window. A man's silhouette, then another. Rifles gleam. Voices carry 2, maybe 3 strangers trudging up the path he left in the snow. Locals? Hunters? Or something worse? Opportunists smelling fear and isolation. Lucas douses the lantern. The cabin falls dim. He checks the bolt on the front door, but the back still hangs crooked, warped by last night's storm. Before he can brace it, a heavy fist hammers the front boards. Anyone in there? The shout is rough but human. Saw smoke earlier. Thought this place was empty. Another pound. Open up. Lucas's mind races. The box must remain unseen. Ignorance, this time, is a shield stronger than wood. He tucks it under the couch, slides the journal into his jacket, and steps to the door. He cracks it an inch. 2 men in heavy parkas glare back, faces wind-burned, eyes sharp. Between them a younger woman scans the forest, hand resting on a sidearm. Snowmobiles idle behind them, exhaust curling into pale sky. Cabin's mine, Lucas says, voice steady but low. Inherited. Storm forced me in. We're with the burrow search team. The first man lies, badgeless vest winking with spent shotgun shells. Saw you signaling. His gaze flicks past Lucas, hunting for valuables or victims. Lucas grips the doorknob tighter. Something shifts outside, soft crunches of paws on snow. The real guardians have returned. A howl splits the daylight, swift, sharp, and close. The visitors flinch, rifles half-raised. From the treeline emerge the 4 wolves, their coats silvered by frost, eyes fixed not on Lucas, but on the intruders. Their presence is not threat, but verdict. The younger woman backs away. We should go, she mutters. Wolves don't scare me. The first man scoffs, raising his gun. Lucas's branded palm ignites in icy torment, and before he can cry out, the box under the couch hums like a tuning fork struck by fate. A single blue pulse ripples across the cabin floorboards, racing toward the doorway, lifting a swirl of snow around the intruder's feet. The men stumble, eyes widening as frost spreads over gun barrels, locking triggers solid. The wolves hold their line, hackles lifted but teeth sheathed, as if confident the cold itself is weapon enough. The young woman bolts, slipping past snowmobiles toward the forest's edge. The men, cursing, follow. Within seconds, the clearing is empty again. The wolves turn their gaze toward Lucas, toward the box beneath the couch, and he senses their plea. Solve this before more blood comes. Dusk falls early, painting the sky in bruised purples. Lucas drags the couch aside, retrieving the box that now feels even heavier, as though it absorbs fear. He kneels in the kitchen center, protected from windows, and sets a tiny digital recorder nearby. evidence for a world that may never believe. He unbuckles his father's journal, finds a loose page tucked between chapters. A sketched circle of runes surrounding a fire pit on the lake's ice. Beneath, a note. Only the cold flame can seal what the warm flame frees. Cold flame. An impossible phrase, yet everything so far has defied logic. He recalls the blue aurora light beneath the ice and wonders. Could flame, in this context, mean energy, not heat? He fetches a flare gun from his emergency kit, the kind that burns red magnesium. Useless. Instead, he rummages for batteries, camera packs, spare power cells, and the portable LED panel he uses for night shots. When he switches it on, the cabin erupts in sterile white. The box vibrates softly, rune lines glowing faint blue. Lucas's branded hand aches again, but this time sensation sharpens his focus. He places the LED directly atop the box. The panel flickers, then stabilizes, emitting a cold, bluish beam, colder than its setting should allow. Frost feathers across the lid, tracing runes like luminous quartz. The box clicks 1, 2, 3 times, then stops. A seam appears, fine as hair, splitting the top. Blue light leaks upward, forming a mist that twists into fragile tendrils. They dart about the room, skittering along shelves, caressing window panes, searching. One tendril brushes Lucas's cheek. 1,000 memories flood in. His father's laughter, the crash of glaciers calving, the first time he heard a wolf's solo cry. Joy and grief mingle in an instant, leaving him breathless. The tendril withdraws, and the seam seals shut again. The LED dies. Silence settles like dust. Lucas examines the box. The warning, "Do not bring this into fire," now glows on every side, pulsing as if alive. He understands. Warm fire releases the entity. Cold fire reveals its nature. But revelation alone isn't enough. Something still waits, imprisoned or guarding, beneath the ice. And time, measured by the throbbing brand, is running out. He grabs the box and the journal, throws on snow boots, and steps into night. Aurora ribbons sweep overhead, emerald and violet curtains rippling in cosmic breeze. The wolves flank him silently, for shadows against the shimmering sky. Together they march toward the lake, destination etched in destiny and ice. At the shore, Lucas halts. Moonlight paints the frozen surface with mercury sheen. The wolves fan out, forming a rough circle where earlier cracks had healed. Lucas sets the box down, consulting the journal page. Draw the ring of breath. Let no warm spark fall. He exhales, breath fogging instantly. A thought strikes, the breath is the circle. He kneels, tracing a ring into the snow with his gloved finger, marking each cardinal point with a single exhalation, letting vapor freeze like crystalline smoke. The wolves mirror him, each exhaling toward the center, forging a wreath of steam that clings in midair. A circle of cold flame, transmuted from living breath. Within that halo, the box shivers, runes blazing. The seam splits again, wider. Mist gushes upward, forming a column that reaches toward the northern lights, fusing color and frost in a spiral helix. The lake beneath them rumbles, ice plates buckling outward. A fissure opens at the circle's heart. From the depths rises the figure of frost and shadow. Taller than before, its face now clearer. A human visage carved from glacier glass, eyes deep as midnight trenches. One hand is raised, palm bearing the brand's twin. The other clutches nothing. It seeks the box. Lucas steps forward, breath hitching. The wolves hold their ground. He speaks aloud, though his voice shakes. "What are you?" The figure tilts its head, lips parting in a whisper against the wind. Lucas hears the answer in his mind. Not ears, warden. He understands. This being was never the threat. It was the jailer of whatever darkness the pendant once stirred. The box is both key and lock, depending on which flame touches it. At the shore, Lucas halts. Moonlight paints the frozen surface with mercury sheen. The wolves fan out, forming a rough circle where earlier cracks had healed. Lucas sets the box down, consulting the journal page. Draw the ring of breath. Let no warm spark fall. He exhales, breath fogging instantly. A thought strikes, the breath is the circle. He kneels, tracing a ring into the snow with his gloved finger, marking each cardinal point with a single exhalation, letting vapor freeze like crystalline smoke. The wolves mirror him, each exhaling toward the center, forging a wreath of steam that clings in midair. A circle of cold flame, transmuted from living breath. Within that halo, the box shivers, runes blazing. The seam splits again, wider. Mist gushes upward, forming a column that reaches toward the northern lights, fusing color and frost in a spiral helix. The lake beneath them rumbles, ice plates buckling outward. A fissure opens at the circle's heart. From the depths rises the figure of frost and shadow. Taller than before, its face now clearer. A human visage carved from glacier glass, eyes deep as midnight trenches. One hand is raised, palm bearing the brand's twin. The other clutches nothing. It seeks the box. Lucas steps forward, breath hitching. The wolves hold their ground. He speaks aloud though his voice shakes. "What are you?" The figure tilts its head, lips parting in a whisper against the wind. Lucas hears the answer in his mind. Not ears, warden. He understands. This being was never the threat. It was the jailer of whatever darkness the pendant once stirred. The box is both key and lock, depending on which flame touches it. Lucas collapses, chest heaving, muscles numbed by adrenaline and cold. The warden approaches, towering over him, then kneels. Its icy palm hovers above his branded hand. With tender precision, it touches him. Cold floods his veins, piercing but cleansing, electricity that scrubs sorrow and fear, leaving only awe. When the warden withdraws, the brand on Lucas's palm is gone, skin unmarked and warm despite the night. The warden rises, nods once, and dissolves into drifting snowflakes that glitter a moment, then vanish. Lucas looks around. The wolves gather close, the alpha pressing its head gently to his shoulder. The pup licks his cheek, tail beating exuberant patterns in the snow. He laughs, a raw, shaking sound that steams into the sky. Morning comes slowly, sun peering over mountains dusted gold. Lucas and the wolves trek back to the cabin together. The lake behind them gleams flawless, hiding every scar. By the porch, Lucas pauses, setting the box beneath the eaves where shade keeps it forever from sun's fire. The wolves sit beside it, silent sentries. Inside, he restarts the propane heater, lights a small flame, carefully distant from the artifact. Warmth spreads, and for the first time in days his hands stop trembling. He unpacks the camera, finds it still functional, and reviews footage. Wolves entering the cabin, blue light pouring from the lake, the warden's emergence. Proof of the impossible. But some stories aren't meant for screens. He powers the device off, tucks it in a drawer, and instead opens a fresh page in his father's journal. He writes, "The wolves remain, the lake sleeps, and the box stays cold. I too will stay, because guardianship is chosen by ice and breath, not by men." Weeks pass. Snow yields to pale spring. Spruce buds unfurl, and the lake thaw edges into mirror-bright pools. Lucas repairs the cabin, new planks, shutter hinges, a reinforced door, and installs solar panels on the roof, inviting cold light to power warmth inside. Every dawn, he sees the wolves patrolling the shoreline, the pup now nearly grown. Sometimes they vanish into dense forest. Other times they lounge near the deck, eyes half closed, ears twitching to unheard melodies. A quiet pact exists. He protects the box from fire. They protect him from whatever else dares encroach. One afternoon, the burrow ranger arrives by snowmobile, drawn by stories of gunshots and strange lights told by rattled hunters. Lucas meets her on the porch. She asks questions. He offers partial truths. Poachers, wolves, a collapsed ice shelf. She studies his calm demeanor, the rebuilt cabin, the 4 wolves sitting unbothered at the treeline, and decides mystery is sometimes better left wild. Before she leaves, she warns of tourist season swelling come summer. Lucas thanks her, mind already plotting signage that reads wildlife research, no entry. The forest, he knows, will enforce it if words fail. Late May, auroras fade. But at night the lake still shimmers faint blue, as though stars beneath the water refuse to rest. Lucas stands on the deck, coffee steaming in cool air, and contemplates the journeys ahead, of time, of myth, of all the unwritten chapters his father never finished. He realizes the cabin is no longer a refuge from the world, but a bridge to a deeper one, where wolves shepherd men and cold flame lights the soul. He sets a final entry in the journal. When the ice sings and the wolves gather, remember, breath is the cold flame, and trust is the lock that keeps darkness dreaming. He leaves the page open, ink drying, so wind may riffle it and whisper the words into the pines. Midnight approaches. The pup, now broad-shouldered, eyes luminous, trots up the steps and rests its head on Lucas's knee. He scratches behind its ears, feeling a pulse beneath fur that mirrors his own heartbeat. In that quiet rhythm, he senses a covenant sealed, not with fire, not with chains, but with shared breath under bitter starlight. Far out on the lake, under a rising moon, the surface ripples with faint blue. Not menace, not summons, just a reminder that the warden watches still and balance endures. Lucas lifts his mug in silent salute. Somewhere deep in the forest, a chorus of wolves begins, layered in haunting harmony. First the alpha, then the others, a song that threads ice with sky. Lucas closes his eyes, letting the sound weave through bone and memory, and feels his father's presence. Not as ghost, but as part of the howl itself, carried on cold flame that never dies. As the last note fades, Lucas breathes out, breath fogging in the moonlight, and smiles. He doesn't know what seasons will come, what strangers may wander too close, or if the darkness below will ever stir again. But he knows this. When it does, breath will rise against flame, wolves will stand watch, and he will be ready, guardian of the cold, keeper of the box, friend to the frozen wolves who once begged a man to let them in. The cabin light flickers, golden against the vast silver night, and the forest answers with silence deeper than dream. The story closes its circle, ice smoothing over every crack, as the world settles into a hush that feels almost like peace, fragile, hard won, and bright as northern stars. The tale of Lucas Hale and the frozen wolves is now yours to share.